Hello everyone. As maybe you too, many people use their web browsers as their main workspace. This is even more true in the age of remote work. This makes web browsers an interesting attack surface for hackers and other malicious actors. This video covers the most important findings of the annual Browser Security Report 2024 released by LayerX. I will link an article by thehackernews.com and the actual report in the description of the video, but now let's go through the 7 main risks identified in the report. First, hybrid work risks. This problem is only an extension of a previously existing one. In every company that has a BYOD, so bring your own device policy, you have a problem of unmanaged devices, which hampers any reasonable cybersecurity strategy. This risk is now extended to browsers since every employee has a unique browser profile with which they access corporate data. Browser extension threats. This is a logical conclusion from the first point. Since the browsers are not managed, neither are the extensions used. 1% of all browser extensions are malicious and 33% can pose a risk to an organization. Extensions can be used for phishing purposes as they might redirect traffic to a malicious website, for example. Uncontrolled shadow SaaS threats. Often, employees use SaaS, so software as a service, tools without permissions or oversight from their respective IT departments. They do this to increase productivity in the short term, but long term, these shadow IT tools can have dire consequences. Since these tools are not maintained by an IT department, security updates are not automated. So these shadow SaaS applications can become serious vulnerabilities. What's worse, these apps are blind spots for any security team. Identity vulnerabilities. Users have multiple online identities, for example a Google account they use for single sign-on. What's worse, often these accounts are shared and passwords are reused, which leads to obvious problems if someone uses the same password for an online service as for his company account. Generative AI and large language models. Generative artificial intelligence and LLMs are all the hype at the moment, but pose a huge security risk to companies. Why? Because many employees feed these tools company data within their prompts. Thereby, they pass potentially sensitive data to these models, which can lead to the exposure of this data to the entire community of this tool. AI-powered threats. The threat of AI for phishing and social engineering attacks is nowadays more potent than ever. For example, fake ChatGPT Chrome extensions or apps, which I've talked about in a previous video, are able to steal your company's valuable information. AI can be used by malware programmers to circumvent security measures and make phishing attacks seem more legitimate. Unpatched vulnerabilities, finally. This is related to point 3, in which I talked about unpatched software that's being used, but unpatched browsers are a different ballpark, as recent zero-day exploits on Edge and Chrome show. Chromium-based browsers such as Brave, Edge, and Opera show delays in patching 0 days or 1 days. Chrome is reasonably fast in patching those, as this graph shows. Now that we've seen what threats are lurking, how do we deal with those? LayerX presents 5 recommendations for security personnel. First, secure browsers by enforcing strict browser policies, such as using only up-to-date browsers and pushing security updates. Implement browser extension management and restrict unauthorized extensions. Educate on phishing, even though this might not really change much, as studies have repeatedly shown. You can find one example in my video on social engineering, which is linked in the description. Managed unmanaged devices. You can, for example, restrict access to data based on the device type. If you have a BYOD policy, so bring your own device, make sure that it contains clear guidelines on how to behave. Strong authentication. I've beaten this horse a few times, but using MFA is almost a must at this point. Moreover, using hardware tokens instead of phones is also a good idea, since phones are susceptible to SIM swapping attacks. Strong password policies are also necessary. You can learn more about how to check for password entropy in my video, which I'll link in the description. Using single sign-on is also a good idea. Policies and activity data. Regarding extensions, you can use a whitelisting approach by only allowing certain extensions instead of blacklisting all malicious ones, because you'll never finish anyway. Monitoring threats on the employee's device is also a good idea, but be careful not to slip into accidentally monitoring their productivity. Finally, company culture matters more than anything else. If your company has a security-first culture with ongoing awareness trainings and open communications, employees are more likely to report any malicious behavior or any suspicious activity. So that's it from the LayerX browser report. I encourage you to read it yourself, as it is of course much more detailed than my video. If you found the video interesting, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.